Can you believe that we've had pigs on our homestead for 6 months now? These guys are getting huge and they're just about ready for harvest, which is both exciting and sad at the same time. But we've given them the best life that we can and they're going to fulfill their purpose here on our homestead by giving us the biggest sacrifice that any animal ever can.
Hey guys, down with the pigs again. We're moving them a bit earlier this time. We got a bit of weather coming through. So right now they're probably at the lowest point on the property that they're ever going to be. From here we want to go uphill, but also they've been spending all their time on flat ground that's gravel, and anything that's not gravel is down the hill. So we're going to go up the hill this time. There's more tea tree up here. We want to bring them up here because this is quite flat. They've been spending a lot of time on a hill and I just want to take that pressure off their bodies. The tricky thing is I only have 1 tank of fuel for the chainsaw. So hopefully I can get this done.
So today not only are we moving their fencing, which after last week's debacle in the forest, we're definitely not taking any more chances and we're going to start moving them up a little bit easier this time round. Are you following me? Don't touch the fence, it's still on. For today's video, I really wanted to talk to you guys about all the... Oh, I told you not to touch it. For today's video, I really want to talk to you guys about everything you would need to know if you're wanting to raise pigs on your own homestead, all of the lessons that we've learned, all of the things we've loved and found challenging along the way. So one of the biggest investments and the best investments that we made right from the start is choosing to get an electric fence that is not only capable of staying charged and hot to keep these guys protected and to keep them enclosed in their shelter, but it allows us also to move them from paddock to paddock, which means they have fresh grass, new things to play with, lots of things to do, which keeps them busy and keeps them happy and in turn causes us less problems. I think the reason that a lot of people say that they have issues with pigs escaping and running away is probably because the pigs get bored. They're highly intelligent animals and to have them stuck in one place with not a lot to do is a little bit cruel, which is why you can hear the kookaburras in the tree. In a beautiful place like this, you have to stop and appreciate the wildlife whenever it comes about. Moving them around from paddock to paddock was always the #1 thing we wanted to do, and this fence has really allowed us to do it. It's from our local co-op as well, so anytime we need to repair it, upgrade it, do anything, we have it accessible to us at our doorstep. So this is the Gallagher S40 Energizer, and we've got a 50-meter fence going around our pigs. This is actually chicken fencing because we don't have any pig fencing here in Australia, at least not where we are. Pig, pig, pig. Wait, Tom, Kotlevka! Pig, pig, pig. Pig.
Ooh.
Come on, boys. Once we move these guys today into their next paddock, we're actually also going to map out and count exactly how many paddocks we have left, and then that is going to be our official butcher date with our butcher. We're actually working with a mobile butcher who's going to come onto our property, and we're actually going to be alongside him, helping him out, learning along the way. So we're super excited to broaden our skill base and really show them the respect that they deserve for the sacrifice that they're making for us. So we really want to be there for the whole journey, start to finish, good and bad. I think that's really important when you're raising your own meat. So when we first made the decision to get the pigs, our #1 priority was to make sure that we had enough food for them. I don't think the saying eating like a pig goes for nothing. I think it really does prove that pigs do eat quite a lot. So we wanted to bulk source a bunch of food for them that would last their whole lifetime while they were here on the homestead. I got in contact with a local bulk food stockist up in New South Wales and we got that delivered down to us. We actually got a ton bag. And so far it's been lasting us pretty well. You may notice that we measure them every now and again to get a rough idea of how big they are, how big they're getting and how much we need to feed them. I can't remember off the top of my head how much you need to feed them at what stage of their life, so I'll pop it up on the screen here as I'm talking. All right, Katsiatka, 118. 118. Tonkotsu, 113. 114. The bag's getting down to about a third of how much we had. We've had the pigs for about 6 months and have slowly been increasing their feed as we go. We're hoping that we will run out of food by the time it's time to process them with the butcher, and we won't have too much left over. Part of the afternoon jobs for Sam is actually to clean out the buckets of food, refill them with fresh water as well as kombucha and other supplements. We've been slowly adding more and more supplements as we need to, just to improve the health of our pigs, to keep them strong, to keep them healthy, and keep them happy too. So we've invested in some seaweed meal, we've invested in some molasses, sometimes we'll put some garlic into their feed as well. Our water has apple cider vinegar in it, which doesn't only give beneficial bacteria into the pigs' stomachs, but it actually keeps the water and the container quite clean inside, because vinegar helps to, I guess, reduce algae. I haven't fully done the research, but that's my understanding of it. And one last thing we put in, as I mentioned just before, is kombucha into their food. This is something that they've had done since they were born, and so we've just continued that because the lovely Lady Kelly actually passed on a kombucha SCOBY to me so that I could continue that process, and that's been awesome. The biggest problem we've actually had to deal with the pigs is the lice on them. We got them over winter time. Winter time is usually really good for pigs because it doesn't get too hot, and so they don't need wallows and a lot of water on their skin to cool them down. But the issue it does bring up is too much water from the sky, rain, and damp conditions around them actually causes lice on them. And this is just a part of the life cycle of lice and parasites. Is they love wet weather. That's when they thrive. That's when they start to multiply. And so our pigs have been struck with lice twice now. First, while they were in their pig shelter and they were quite young. That was the first time, and we had, I think, about a week or two of rain and flooding events and all kinds of things. So we then had to deal with it then. And more recently, about a week ago, we had a whole week of rain once again. Not to the point of flooding, but it was enough to encourage those lice to start multiplying on our pigs once again, especially because we had them in quite a low part of the property where a lot of the water does run off too. So that was our mistake. In hindsight, we really should have thought ahead and started to apply the DE back onto them to prevent the lice from being able to attach themselves to the pigs. But we didn't do that, and I think that's a lesson that we've now learnt, but it is just part of owning pigs for the first time and learning as we go. DE, I highly encourage it. We've been just rubbing it around the pigs' ears, their necks, their bodies, their back legs, especially where the lice are most prominent, on their stomach as well, and that seems to create an environment on the pigs that the lice really don't like, and they drop off as we move them from paddock to paddock. You are supposed to apply the DE a week or so before you move them into the next paddock, and that way the lice will drop off in the paddock that the pigs are in, and then as you move them on, they don't have a chance to reattach themselves on. So the whole system that we have where we move them from one place to the other really works to control lice when we're on top of it. By far, one of the most important things we've learnt through this whole experience is just how important it is to build trust with these animals, to give them plenty of love, attention, because by doing that, it means that they're so much more patient with us, they follow us with food quite easily, and by doing that, we're able to look after them so much easier, and it seems like no trouble at all. This task is easy and fun, and we really appreciate them for everything they do for us. Of course, things were not always this easy. They're so quick.
Yeah.
Pick, pick, pick. This has taken 6 months to build up to this point. Even last week, you guys saw that they went out the wrong way into the forest for the first time in all of the 6 months of moves that we've done with them, and we move them every single week. So there's always going to be ups and downs, things that go right, things that go wrong. But even the bad moments don't seem so bad when you've got moments like this where everything goes right, everything goes smoothly, and you really get to appreciate everything that they are. Giant lovable dogs. To keep these guys protected from the rain and the elements, Sam actually built them a shelter. This is the roof part of the shelter that he built them while they were little. You may have seen the DIY pig pen video where Sam built a home out of pallets for them, which we lined with wood chips while they were young. And then this was actually the roof part of it. So now that they're out in the field, we've been able to take the roof off the shelter and plonk it down wherever we have the pigs. This is probably actually overkill in size. I've seen people with a lot smaller structures, but because this also acts as a roof, it just makes sense for it to be that big. You may have been wondering where our pigs' names have come from. We have Tonkotsu and we have Kotlietka, and we made sure when we first got pigs to name them. We wanted to name our pigs because we wanted to feel connected to them the whole time. A lot of people kept telling us that by naming your animals when you want to butcher them, you'll be connected to them to a point where you don't want to go through with the deed. And we want to prove that wrong. We want to prove that by naming our pigs, we are showing them the complete care and love that we would to anything else on our homestead. And then come harvest time, we appreciate them even more for what they've done for us. So tonkotsu is actually Japanese pork ramen, or pork soup if you don't know what ramen is. Absolutely delicious and one of Sam's favorite things to make from pig bones, and also to eat. And then kotlietka is Russian pork meatballs, which are one of my family favorites as well. One of the most important things I've learned from this whole experience of owning pigs is just how important building a community is. I feel like if we didn't get connected within this community, getting to meet our breeder, getting to meet our butcher, finding a local livestock group on Facebook and connecting to people through that, I think it would have made this whole journey, this whole experience so much harder. So I highly recommend to you, if you're wanting to homestead, if you're trying to set yourself up in a community, or even trying to connect with others in the local community in a homestead you've already created, it's one of the most rewarding and helpful things you could ever do. I bet you'll be finding sheep, alpacas, even frogs if you want through those kinds of groups, and yeah, a lot of like-minded people that are going to help you out on the journey.
It's official. The date is booked for when they're being butchered. So in 3 weeks' time, these guys are going to be embarking on their final journey that will eventually end them in our freezer and in our stomachs. That is going to be a culmination of such a long journey for Diane and I. We are really big meat eaters, but we've always been very challenged by the state of the food industry and essentially the fact that people can go their entire lives eating pork but then never meet a pig. Morally, that's something that we've had a really strong drive to want to correct in our lives, and that's what this journey is all about. Especially for me, getting pigs has always been something that I've really wanted to do, and pork is one of my favorite meats. As Diane mentioned, my favorite dish is tonkotsu, and that's a really delicious and difficult dish to cook, and I'm gonna have so much joy cooking it with the animals that we reared ourselves and butchered ourselves. So I predict it's going to be incredibly sad for us to harvest these guys, but not in a negative way, in an extremely emotionally rich way. These guys have given us so much. Like Diane said, they're like, as they've gotten to know us, they've become big dogs, and we're dog people, so we've loved having them. When the entire process comes to an end and we have them on our table and we're eating them, that's just going to make the experience so much richer, and these guys are all we're going to be thinking about. And so if you're considering going on this journey, I couldn't recommend it more. It's so fulfilling, and even though it's a dark ending to it, it's not dark to us. These guys had a purpose for us and they fulfilled it to the nth degree, and we'll forever be grateful for them.